in Africa that have gone down, but then also around the world as well. But welcome to you guys. Chris Wyatt was supposed to do a live stream with a member of Parliament that belongs to the Democratic Alliance, and for some reason the stream just never happened today. So Chris Wyatt has not streamed today, which has got me more than a little bit concerned. Maybe he was just busy, but typically Chris Wyatt live streams every day, and he really isn't, as far as I know, given an explanation of why he hasn't streamed today. But welcome to everybody who's tuned in. So just hang on. Sorry about the echo. Just hang on 1 second. I'm gonna get this posted to Chris Wyatt's Telegram group. So just hang on 1 second. So I hope everybody's doing well, and then I'll get to the news in a minute. So, all right. Okay, here we go. All right, recently the Italian ambassador to the DRC, to the Democratic Republic of Congo, has been killed, and unfortunately, and one of his bodyguards, an Italian policeman, was killed as well, and also the chauffeur was killed as well. Actually, this guy was an Italian ambassador for the WFP, the World Food Program. The FDLR, which is a Hutu extremist group that has been based in the Democratic Republic of Congo for a long time, trying to overthrow the Paul Kagame government, has been accused by the DRC and the Rwandan government for orchestrating this attack. Now, the FDLR denies that they did this, and they believe that the Rwandan government and the DRC military are responsible. So pray that they'll find the investigation, that the investigation goes right and the right people get behind bars. I firmly believe the FDLR is behind this attack. It's a Hutu extremist group who has delivered far more oppressive attacks than have Paul Kagame's government, and also than have the DRC military. Even though both the Rwandan and the DRC military have cracked down on dissidents very, very badly, this Hutu extremist group is somebody who sympathizes with a political party and a group that killed over 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus in Rwanda in 1994. And they aim to put that kind of government back into power in Rwanda. And they operate secretly in a lot of bases in the DRC, in the eastern part of the DRC. So that's the latest news coming from there. The Italian ambassador of the World Food Program has passed away. He's been murdered. We don't know by who. And his bodyguard has been murdered as well. Also, a Congolese chauffeur has been murdered as well, at the hands of somebody. That much we do know. All right. Okay. I'm gonna also talk about what is going on right now in. I'm gonna talk about what's going on right now. We talked about the DRC. All right, we're going to talk about what's going on right now in Botswana. First of all, Botswana is going, and Chris White had pointed this out, but I'm going to point it out again. Botswana is going with the AstraZeneca vaccine, and I think the way that the COVID-19 has evolved, it is ignorant for any country, no matter if they get it for free or not, to go with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And the reason that I say that is that vaccine has only been deemed 10 to 15% effective against the COVID-19 strain. But nevertheless, the country of Botswana with President Masisi, and I believe that President Masisi is running the country of Botswana into the ground. It's still more economically successful than most other African nations, but at the same time, Botswana is a lot less successful and prosperous than it used to be, thanks to a lot of Masisi's mistakes and Masisi's errors. And when they're right on the border with South Africa, and the South African strain is plaguing Southern Africa right now, the last thing the country needs right now is the AstraZeneca vaccine. So President Masisi, I firmly believe, is making a very, very tactical and strategic error in doing something like this. So like I said, and I believe the Hagangab government is making an error there. Now, here's some good news out of Namibia. The United States went to Namibia to examine the cattle farms, because a lot of their cattle farms had been hit by diseases that plague cattle. Now, while it's not contagious to humans, it can contaminate the beef and make the beef not taste good. There's diseases that the Namibian cattle were dying from. However, the good news is that it has not reached the cattle that are exported to the United States, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture went in there to inspect the Namibian cows and the Namibian that are set to go to the United States, and it looks like all systems go. So, all right, reconnected. I'm back. Okay. All right, that's the latest news out of Namibia. Now, here is you can't have this vigilante mob justice, but the Namibian police, while many of them are not corrupt, they're very underfunded. Namibia is still poorer than many Western countries, but recently in Namibia, there has been a guy that was suspected of breaking in all those homes in the area, was beaten and killed to death by a mob. Now, I'm not for breaking in people's houses, but if they got the wrong person, then the mob just killed an innocent person. It was basically like a lynch mob. But yeah, that is what's going on in Namibia right now. I'm gonna see if I can find the article, but it wasn't in the capital of Windhoek or Walvis Bay. It was in a small town in a small village in Namibia where there had been several break-ins, and the police are not sure that if the people in the village caught the right person. They say the suspect could easily be at large. So you can't have that kind of mob vigilante justice because it's just contradictory to the rule of law. Now, if they got the right person, it's one less scumbag to worry about. But when you have a country of rule of law, nobody should go be killed for breaking and entering houses and stealing stuff. So that's one of the latest things that has happened in Namibia. So I just discussed what has happened in Namibia. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. The farm murders in South Africa. That's one thing I wanted to touch on with the farm murders in South Africa. Now, here is the good news. The good news is farm attacks and this is AfriForum statistics as well. Farm attacks have gone down in South Africa. Chris White did a video on this. They've gone down from over 600 to just under 400 just in 1 year. Some people say that maybe for the lockdown. That's what Chris White said. I kind of disagree with Chris on this one because the lockdown was not enforced in ANC-friendly areas very well. I mean, I don't believe these current farm murders right now are EFF supporters because the EFF has complained about the lockdown and complaint has been enforced on them as well. However, even though farm attacks have decreased, farm murders from the previous year have increased. So more of the attacks have resulted in murder. And while I'm not sure if the ANC government is complicit in this, I do firmly believe that the ANC did not enforce their lockdown in ANC-friendly areas, but then they went after opposition people who were surfing and threw them in jail for over a year for surfing when they were spaced out on the beach and they weren't going to give anybody the COVID-19 infection. That's what I firmly believe. But farm murders, according to AfriForum, have increased. Now here's the thing. The disbanding of the farm commando units was a disgrace, and Member of Parliament Lakota shares some blame with this because when he was defense minister for the ANC, he was a proponent of it. Now, he since has renounced that, admitted he made a mistake, broke with the ANC, and formed COPE, Congress of People and Equality. But the disbanding of the farm commando units has led to a huge increase in farm murders. And it's mostly white farmers that are targeting, but not always. There have been Indian farmers targeted, colored farmers, and black farmers that have been targeted in these farm murders. And it needs to stop. I mean, South Africa is going to go from a third world country to a fourth world country if the farm murders do not stop. And it's just outright disgraceful that the farm murders have been taking place the way that they are. And that is just outright disgraceful with what's going on. All right. Discuss that. I made a video on what is going on in Uganda, and that is also what I wanted to talk about. Okay, Stella Nyazi is in Kenya now, and as I pointed out in the last video, her parents were opponents of the Idi Amin regime as well. That was the person that Museveni overthrew, who has oppressed people worse than Museveni has been. However, she is back in Kenya in exile, opposing the current Museveni government. Well, Stella Nyazi says she's going to be in Kenya but still fight for freedom of Uganda in exile. So I wish Stella Nyazi all the best. Now, Bobby Wine has withdrew his appeal to the Ugandan Supreme Court because he believes the Ugandan Supreme Court is in the hands of Yoweri Museveni. While I do believe he's probably right on that, I still believe firmly that Museveni probably won the election fair and square because Uganda has been a lot more stable. It's one of the safest countries in Africa right now, not just in Africa, but in the world. Also, the HIV rate has decreased drastically, largely due to Yoweri Museveni. And also, Uganda has sent soldiers to fight al-Shabaab in Somalia and has had a good relationship with the West. Now, I don't know if it'll continue, and many people are worried if the West withdraws its support for Yoweri Museveni, that Museveni is going to turn to China. Now, here's the thing, though, I do understand that Yoweri Museveni has a very, very thin skin. And no, it's not because he's black. It's not because he's any specific skin color. But Yoweri Museveni does not tolerate any form of dissent whatsoever. Yoweri Museveni does not tolerate any form of dissent. He doesn't tolerate any form of somebody having a different opinion. And I have made videos objectively on the situation in Uganda, and as I've stated, that I believe that Yoweri Museveni would have won fair and square, but then I talk about the good things about Museveni and the bad things about Museveni. But I've gotten some weird comments on those videos. One person said, shame on Stella Nyazi. And you wonder if some of these videos that people make on Uganda from abroad, if Museveni's government's watching them and crying their tears out because you said a few negative things about them. And that is just crazy. I mean, people that have criticized the Museveni government are disappearing. They're standing on the side of the road. Cars come and they throw the person in there. I mean, typically it doesn't result in murder, but they disappear. The people disappear for about 2 weeks to a month, and the Ugandan police and military beat the shit out of them when they're in jail. Stella Nyazi's boyfriend and his brother were nearly castrated. And that's a sick, sadistic situation that is going on. And, all right, now, compared to many of my viewers, I do have disagreements over the COVID-19. I've been vaccinated, and I firmly believe that the COVID-19 is a real disease, and it does pose a threat. But let's look at what the Tanzanian government has done with COVID-19. For the longest time, they have denied that COVID-19 has existed. They thought the whole thing was a scam. The whole thing was a farce. And the Tanzanian government right now has finally acknowledged at least it does exist. But this is just confirmed cases. 509 total cases and 21 deaths. But that's just what we know about. But finally, Tanzania's president, according to Al Jazeera, admits that Tanzania has a COVID-19 problem. And it says here, according to Al Jazeera, President John Magufuli comments come following a World Health Organization over the country's very concerning coronavirus situation. Now, before this shortly after, a few months ago, actually, in the self-autonomous region of Zanzibar, it's kind of controlled by the Tanzanian government, it's kind of not. Well, the governor of Zanzibar, who almost everybody liked, died of the COVID-19, and it shocked the entire nation. That is kind of where Tanzania started changing their mind and believing the coronavirus does exist. It says, according to this article, the president of Tanzania has urged its citizens to take preventive measures against the coronavirus after downplaying the disease for months and claiming it had been defeated by prayers. Speaking during a Sunday church mass in the capital, Dodoma, President John Magufuli urged citizens of the East African country to take precautions and wear face masks, but only locally made ones. Okay, over the course of the pandemic, Magufuli has expressed wariness about foreign-made goods, including COVID vaccines. Now, that is a danger, and that is going to add more COVID-19 cases to Tanzania. We're never going to know for sure unless Western observers go on the ground, because President Magufuli is in denial over the COVID-19 situation in Tanzania. And he probably still would be in denial, except that the governor of Zanzibar had died from COVID-19. And that's what the article says. A country of 60 million people mourned the death of one of its highest profile politicians, was not the vice president. The vice president of the semi-autonomous island region of Zanzibar, whose infection with COVID had been announced by his political party, Magufule's, and this is another key part in this article, Magufule's chief secretary also died in recent days, though the cause was not revealed. Which means more than likely it was COVID-19, but the Magufuli government is covering it up. Magufuli, speaking at the chief secretary's funeral in a nationally televised broadcast on Friday, had urged the nation to participate in 3 days of prayer for an unspecified respiratory illness that had become a challenge to the country. Tanzania has not updated its number of coronavirus infections since April, as the president has insisted COVID-19 had been defeated. Cover up, I firmly believe. Tanzania's official number of coronavirus infections remain at just 509, but residents report that many people have become ill with breathing difficulties, and hospitals have seen a rise in patients diagnosed with, and the article's got this quotes, pneumonia. And you got to give the Al Jazeera credit where credit is due. Normally they report objectively on Africa. Now, they don't report objectively on the United States, I can guarantee you that. But normally they report pretty objectively about what's going on in Africa. And that is basically what is going on in Africa at the moment. I mean, in Tanzania specifically, I firmly believe. And that is what's transpiring. All right. Okay. Now, latest news in Liberia and West Africa. Now, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took an approach after the Civil War to not prosecute a lot of the war criminals in the name of reconciliation. I can understand where she's coming from on this, but thousands of Liberians right now are saying that some people need to be prosecuted for their atrocities. Now, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is saying that a lot of these people were kids. When this happened, they were given drugs so they could be out of their state of mind, their normal state of mind, and they didn't completely know what they were doing. And so that's why she chose not to prosecute many of the war criminals, and she united the country in the name of reconciliation and trying to have Liberia move forward. Now, Yahoo News has reported report that many people want to see some prosecutions. Here we go. Yahoo News reports that tales of atrocities dominate accounts of Liberia's years of civil war, but not a single person has been tried for the war crimes in the country's courts. Now, that is true. A Sierra Leone resident who went to Liberia to fight in the Civil War, Massaquoi, has been charged in Switzerland, but he's not been charged in Liberia. And this is despite an estimated 250,000 dead, amounting to around 8% of the population at the time. And survivors willing to testify about the conflicts from 1989 to 1997 and 1999 to 2003. On Tuesday, in an unprecedented move, a war crimes case is due to be heard in the capital, Monrovia. But this time it will be a Finnish court holding a special session, not part of the Liberian judicial process. Now, the reason, it's happening in Finland, not Switzerland. Now, there's another case happening in Switzerland as well. But Gilbert Massaquoi was a resident of Finland when he was arrested in 2020 and is accused of killing civilians, rape, and recruiting child soldiers. He denies the charges. And, yeah, that's basically what is going on right now. There are some trials internationally going on for some war criminals, and I don't think, if the person was over 18 at the time and was giving drugs to those child soldiers to get them out, to keep them out of their minds, I would say if the person was over 18 at the time when the Civil War was going on, that they do need to be prosecuted. Now, you can make it a case-by-case basis, but if it was determined through records that the person was under 18, then I don't think you should prosecute the person, because a lot of those people were given drugs by their leaders and forced at gunpoint to do what they did. Now, if they had been doing that, but then they were older than 18 and were still doing it after the age of 18, yeah, I think you should prosecute them. Make it a case-by-case basis for prosecuting people for the Liberian Civil War. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's move, while people understood it and people admired her for helping end the Civil War, and they also admired her for developing Liberia's economy, a lot of people did oppose her move to not prosecute war criminals in the Liberian Civil War. It was not a very popular move with what was going on. in with what was going on in Liberia at the time. So, if you guys have any comments or any questions, feel free to type in there. Anyways, like I said, most of you guys probably are in bed right now because it's Tuesday and it's 11:18 p.m. in South Africa right now, provided that the lockdown is lifted. So, anyways, but I guess, okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye. Bye-bye.